Hello, pre-service teachers. This is Dr. Rodriguez in EDEL 4372, English Language Arts and Social Studies Methods. Today, I want to remind you of what we talked about last week, where we were practicing noticing and naming in a mentor text, and then shifting what we noticed about author's craft to our own writing when we begin to draft. So in this brief video, I just want to go over what we did at the very end of class last time, where we looked at the mentor text and started analyzing the structure, and then picked some of the elements from that structure or that craft that we wanted to use in our own text. And so we're going to look back at the example that my daughter did for Drew the People, Draw the Place. And if you remember, she drew a cute little monster for us that had crazy brown hair on top of his head and a lot of teeth in his mouth. And her monster lived under her bed in her room that had a teddy bear on top of the bed and a teddy bear on the floor. So I'm going to take that pink monster and I'm going to pair that with my mentor text from John Henry that we analyzed in class. And if you recall, the elements of craft that we noticed in this short text were the vivid verbs that the author used. We also noticed that the author used some dialogue. The author used repetition for effect that had a calming effect on us. And they also used a lot of imagery in their text. So I'm going to choose some of those to mimic in my own text. And it's okay if I don't do it perfectly. It's okay if I don't mimic all of them. The point is that I'm using the mentor text to try something new in my own writing. Since my technology doesn't allow me to write in real time with you, I've pre-written a short piece that mimics some of the author's craft used in the John Henry text. And my piece goes something like this. Under my bed, I felt a soft jolt, and my bed began to quiver. I was frightened and screamed, "Mommy! Mommy!" But my door was closed, and she couldn't hear. From the shadows under my bed came a chomping sound. Chomp, chomp. Chomp, num, num, num. Something was under my bed, eating the peanut butter crackers I had hid there last week. It was probably my dog, Rowan. She was a round dog, too big for the tiny space under the bed. I quietly shushed her, pulled the fuzzy blanket up to my neck, and tried to go back to sleep. When I closed my eyes, I felt my bed lurch to the right. It wasn't Rowan under my bed. Now at this point, we're not looking for the draft to be in perfect form. We want, as the writer, to try new things. And you can see in my draft where I tried using the vivid verbs like quiver, jolt, screamed, and the like. I also tried using a bit of dialogue with the chomp, 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 and the num, num, num. And finally, I included some imagery in the last part of my text, as well as in a couple of spaces throughout. So as you can see, the purpose of using a mentor text is to copy some elements of the author's craft that work well inside your own text, or to copy the structure of the mentor text to try and create a new structure that goes with your topic. I call that a copy change. Let's do one more example. This time, instead of literary, we're going to focus on the pre-write that we used for an informational text, and we were working in science class where we had to describe rocks. I'm going to bump the grade level up a little bit so that you're doing something that maybe a third, fourth, or fifth grader, maybe even late second grade would be able to do. And I'm going to use the dolphin or shark, the compare contrast style mentor text, to make a new text for my rock piece. So on this piece, if I use my mentor text as a guide, I'm going to mimic the question style title that they have here. And this one says scales or skin. Well, I'm talking about rocks, not mammals or fish, so I'm going to change my title to volcanic or sedimentary, since I'm talking about the types of rocks. Next, I'm going to mimic the bubbles that have facts in them. And so on my geode, which is a volcanic type of rock, I might put that this rock is formed deep in the earth. And on my sedimentary bubble, I might put that this rock takes thousands of years to form with layer upon layer upon layer. So now it's your turn. I want you to pick a genre that you want to write in, or go back to your pre-writes and pick an idea that you want to develop. Find a mentor text. It can be any of the texts that I showed you last class period. It can be any of them that I have listed under week 4 in the directions. Or if you have a favorite text or a children's book that you want to try and mimic, go ahead and use one of those. And so you're going to write me either 3 poems or 1 to 2 pages of a narrative or literary style. Or you have the option of writing 1 to 2 pages of a dramatic script, or you have the option of writing 1 to 2 pages of an expository text, or 1 to 2 pages of an argumentative text. Your goal is to have that done by 11:59 p.m. on the day of class. That way you can print off your draft and bring it to class when I get to see you next week so that we can work on leaving feedback for our peers.